Hello and welcome to this episode of Health in You. I am Sumi Sukanya Dutta, and in this edition, we'll talk about the cutting edge immunotherapies to treat blood cancers. To put things in context, over the last 1 year, two CAR T cell therapies, one by Immunoact and another by Immuneel, have been launched in India. This has brought down the cost of this advanced cancer treatment drastically. To discuss CAR T cell therapies and all the details about it, we have two eminent guests. Amit Mookim, who is the CEO of Immuneel Therapeutics, and Dr. Mayank Singh, who is medical oncologist and cancer researcher with the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Delhi. Welcome, Mr. Amit and Dr. Mayank, for being with our show today. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Dr. Singh, can you please tell us about CAR T cell therapy? Also, in which kind of cancers is it used, and what is the significance of therapy being available in the country itself?
Yeah, I think the CAR T cell therapy is a new form of therapy, and generally when we talk about the CAR T cell therapy, we say it's an adoptive cell therapy. So by adoptive cell therapy, it means the you put in the cells that basically adopt to the way the cancer adopts. The similarly, the cellular therapy can adopt. It's very much different as compared to the traditional therapies in which you just administer the chemotherapeutic agents, and you basically what it does is that it goes and targets the dividing cells, which are like dividing rapidly. And but it also has a significant toxicity on the normal cells as well because it is not targeted therapy. So then we have the advent of what we call as immunotherapies. But immunotherapy have the different form of immunotherapies like monoclonal antibody-based immunotherapies and other form of therapies. If you take it ahead, then what we have something which we call as cellular therapies. So by cellular therapy, what you do is that basically you take out you basically tap the power of immune system which is there, okay, and then you take out the immune cells from the body. You train them to how to recognize the cancer cells. Like in the case of CAR T cells, you train them to recognize the cancer cells. So then you engineer them, you put it back into the body, and these cells go and target the cancer cells. And that is why we have different form of CAR T cell therapy as of now. As far as the current scenario is concerned, we have what we call CD19 based therapies, and then we have the BCMA based CAR T-cell therapies. So when we talk about like CD19 or BCMA, what we mean is that this CD19 based CAR T-cell therapy, you've got the T cells which are engineered to detect CD19 on a cancer cells. So it has been approved for ALL and AML. And then you have the BCMA based CAR T-cell therapies, which basically recognize the B cell maturation antigen, which is present on multiple myeloma, and this is used for in the case of multiple myeloma. And I think it is important to mention here that the target selection is very important in CAR T therapies because what you are doing is that basically is that the target has to be absolutely safe, and it should not actually go and kill the normal cells which are present in the human body. And that's why I think the development of the CAR T cell therapies in solid cancers is lacking behind as of today because we do not have any ideal target, what we say. But recently, I guess with the advent of AI and all those things, good progress have been made. And I guess within very soon we should have some good candidates in the solid cancers as well. I think the gliomas was one thing which I was recently going through some of the publications recently. That is one thing that is coming up, and I'm sure that it's going to come up in a lot of cancers in the.
So, a lot of interesting details there. Mr. Mukim, could you share details about Cartemi, the product, CAR-T cell product that has been launched by your company? How was it developed? And in which kind of cancer specifically can it be used?
So, Sumi, first of all, thank you for having me over, Dr. It's a pleasure to be on this panel with you. Uh, Before I get into Katemi, I'll give a little bit of background on how Katemi came to India, Sumi. So, we are a company which has just completed 5 years of their formation. And the entire purpose of setting up Immuneel Therapeutics was to bring in the latest innovation in cell and gene therapy, which was there in developed markets, but extremely high price at a fraction of the cost to patients in India, because all of us know there are hundreds of thousands of patients that are actually diagnosed with cancer every year, and more than a third of them actually are subject to mortality, right? So, as Dr. Mayank pointed out, CAR T cell therapies have been in the West for more than a decade. But when we started looking at this whole area and we started doing our innovation, we came across a hospital in Europe, in Spain, where a group of very leading oncologists were actually working on the CD19 program. And we worked with them. It was an academic institution. We worked with them, brought this therapy into India through a tech transfer, built India's first GMP manufacturing facility, and then we got regulatory approval late in 2024. We've just launched this product under the name of Cartme in India. Uh, and the idea was twofold. One is, how could we bring an internationally accredited product? And this hospital has treated more than 140 patients. The condition being non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and ALL, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. We have got approval for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we continue to treat patients for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And as we move forward, we'll be working towards how we can bring the treatment to ALL patients as well.
Okay. So for like you said, it's indicated for some kind of blood cancers. Now, immunity is something which can be called a double-edged sword, right? It can work both in the favor and as well as against the patient. So, are there some limitations, some side effects also which are linked with CAR T cell therapy? Dr. Mayank, would you like to talk about it? Is your
Yeah, I think the biggest the side effect of the CAR T therapy, what we call is a CRS or a cytokine release syndrome. That is typically that happen in the patients. So the genesis of the CRS is basically is that you have a like there are two things, right? I will like to put it that way. So first is the design of the CAR T cells. Okay, so some design are supposed to prove have like more of a CRS in the patient. And what is a CRS actually? So what happens is that when these T cells go and kill a tumor, then after that there's a lot of release of the interleukins and interferon gamma in the bloodstream, and those what elicit called a shock syndrome in the patients, and then those things have to be controlled in those patients. So the idea as of now is to develop CAR T cell therapies which have a reduced CRS. And I was so the what people have tried to do is that like typically if you see the design of a car, like the car which we also designed is that these are the Murine cars. Okay, so we have a binding domain in this car which binds to what we the binding domain is derived from the mouse. Okay, we generally typically work on the mouse and develop it. So one way to reduce CRS is to have what we call as humanization of the car. Okay, you can put in remove the mice fragments of DNA from that, and you can put in the humanization, and then it has to be shown that it can reduce CRS. So one way to reduce the CRS is to change the very structure of the car. So that is one way, and I think that is one of the challenge, which is the biggest challenge which lies ahead. And the second thing is that it has been shown that, especially in the CD19 also, there's a low expression of this molecule at some part, like it is associated with some form of a neural toxicities as well, I believe, in some of the patients, I believe. And to address those issues, obviously the humanization of car has been done, and I think that is one thing which I guess Immunoact also was part of or doing that. So our efforts when we are working upon the development of our car at Ames is that to develop what we call as humanized car. So you can actually take care of things at the inception itself. So that is I guess the is one thing that needs to be taken care of. And see the what we call is that, see, there's nothing which we call as safe therapies when you talk about cancer, whether you talk about the immunotherapies, and there is some level of toxicity which is available, which happens with all of those. But I guess the decisions ultimately lie in what are the advantages we can offer to a patient as compared to what how safe it can be, right? Because what we are when we talk about the CAR T cell therapy, we are talking about the durable response. We are not. We are talking about this durable response is going to last until the target is being expressed on the cancer cells.
So
And see,
can CAR
it's not like
sorry about this interruption, but just want to understand it for the benefit of our viewers. Can CAR T cell therapy be used as a first line of treatment for these particular cancers, or this is mostly for
right,
large?
right. So I guess this is a debatable issue. But what I would like to say is that it shouldn't be used as a first line of therapy.
Okay.
See, CAR-T cell therapy comes into play when the first line and the second lines are exhausted. Like when we talk about multiple myeloma, like there are many patients, older patients who come for second line of therapies, but those patients in you cannot perform bone marrow transplant in those patients. So those patients might be eligible for the CAR-T cell therapy in the second line itself, but it should not be used for the first line per se, because I guess there are good drugs which are available which can actually be used in the primary line. Second thing is the cost effectiveness also. It is not a what I say, it is not a cheap therapy. It is an expensive therapy. Even if we talk about like 40 lakhs, 30 lakhs, it is still expensive, right? So I think we should have like as I said before, it is a debatable issue. It might vary from perspective. Like I might think other way, he might think other way, but yeah, but I think it's sometime I think the T-cell based therapy, the adoptive cell therapies, I think some other form of therapies might come in the future which can be used as a primary cell therapies, but not as of now.
But as of now, no, that is
I,
not
I
the
think
Yeah,
case.
Sumi,
not
just
as of
to
now.
just to quickly add, while I agree with Dr. Mayank on how he's framed the whole thing, but the way we follow this treatment, there are two things we do. See, patient safety is very important because it is an autologous therapy, and as he mentioned, usually it's line refractory relapse. The cells are very exhausted. The patient is under stress, right? So we follow a very stringent screening criteria, or whether we should be doing the infusion for the patients or not. So we have a tumor board that comprises of Dr. Sid Mukherjee, who's a renowned oncologist, along with other leading oncologists. And we screen patients, and in many times we actually refuse that from a safety standpoint, right? So that's one. I think the second thing is, what Dr. Mang mentioned is the cytokine release system. In our clinical trials, we found a 0% grade 3 CRS. Okay. And one of the ways we managed the protocol was a fractionated dosing. So, we learned that if we fractionate, which means we infuse percentages of the whole CAR in fractionated dose, it reduces the cytokine release and reduces the risk of that CRS as well. So there are various ways. And and I must say that the technology is evolving. We are also learning, right? As we are to be managed from a safety standpoint, we will continue to evolve.
So,
Yeah,
Dr.
I think yeah,
Yeah, you
please.
mentioned about the cost point of the treatment, and we would come to that now. So, if financial toxicity is one thing which is associated with cancer, no matter what, even in terms of traditional treatment, forget about the innovative cutting edge therapies. But of course, companies like yours are definitely trying, Mr. Mukim, to bring down the treatment. So, could you share for the benefit of our viewers what exactly is the cost of the treatment now? Also, in the coming days, do you think the cost will further go down as we go forward?
So, Sumit, there are two components to the cost. One is the cost of the CAR-T itself, and you have to understand, because it's an autologous therapy, there is a lot of science and the testing and QC that is involved in actually producing the drug. And then there is a cost of hospitalization, treatment, admission, which depends on the condition of the patient, right? Uh, just to put it in perspective, globally, the cost of the therapy is about 400 to $500,000, and another 200 to $300,000 of hospitalization. Here, we are trying to bring down the cost in between 35 to 50 lakhs for now, and then whatever the hospital costs are based on the treatment the patient takes. Having said this, we understand that cost is a parameter of three things, Sumi. Here, one is, today the therapy does not have awareness and adoption. As we will build more and more awareness and adoption and build scale, the scale advantages will bring the cost down, because currently there are very very small number of patients, handful of patients being treated.
Right,
the second
right,
the second is that the process itself will evolve for quicker manufacturing, more indigenization of reagents, which are currently very costly, and everything is imported actually in many of these things. If we have to succeed as a nation to democratize this therapy, we will have to look at more industrialization while keeping safety, and which is what we are working towards. I personally believe that cost can come down much further over the next 12 to 24 months, and that will be the objective of doing bringing this.
Let's hope that. Dr. Mayank, would you like to talk about the work your team at AIMS is doing now? Because you mentioned earlier that there are two therapies which are available: CD19 based and BCMA based. Could you simplify what exactly is the difference, and also in terms of, will it be different for different kind of cancers, or it will target the same kind of cancers?
Right. So we are basically working on the BCMA based CAR T-cell therapies. So that's a B-cell maturation antigen, and the it has been approved for the relapsed and refractory multiple myeloma, and in the by the US FDA. And I guess there are two products which are available in US to treat these malignancies as of now. The first one is ID-Cell, which was approved on the KARMA trial, and so it has been proven that it is a safe target, obviously. So what we did was that we started from the scratch actually. So we were funded by Department of Biotechnology for this project back in like 2021 to develop these therapies at AIM. So we obviously our thing was also that obviously the Indians cannot afford a $380,000 therapy, right? So when we started this project, we thought that okay, we should have something, we should bring the cost down. And how do we bring the cost down? We bring the cost down by developing things indigenously. So we started the with the screening of the multiple myeloma patients at AIMS who used to come at AIMS. And the first thing what we did was that we first developed the antibodies against the BCMA. So we sequenced those patients. We took out the sequence of BCMA, which was basically what whoever patients were coming at ISCH. And after that, what we did the protein expression and all those studies and immunization. And after that, what we came out was there were the 20 different kind of antibodies. And these antibodies, out of which we have patented a few as of now, we have put an Indian patent for that. And those are the binding domains from where you take out the binding domains, which basically form the basic structure of the car. Okay, so now what we have developed is that we have developed a second generation car, which is an anti-BCMA car, and this binds to BCMA, and the patent of the antibody is with us. We have filed for the patent of this BCMA based car, and we have almost completed our animal studies, the murine studies in this one, and we think that we have got good response in those studies, and I think those studies will be out in the form of publication in a few months after some time. And after that, we are basically planning to do a phase one study here at AIMS with this car. And our idea, basically, there are two objectives of this idea. The first is that we will have an indigenous car with us, which has been developed by us all together at AIMS. The second thing is that we want to develop a pipeline for the CAR T-cell development, including a GMP facility and everything at AIMS New Delhi, and so that it can be used for not only for this therapy but for other form of CAR T-cell therapies, whatever comes up in the future per se. And obviously, like I think all of us can understand this thing that the BCMA negative relapse, the CD19 negative relapse, it happens in these patients, like the patient who were treated in 2017. There are things that are happening into those patients also. So obviously, like we need a further car, bispecific cars, and all those things. And those are the future goals which we want to do. And so what we envision as of now is that we want to start these therapies after a small clinical trial, after like maybe in 2 years or something at AIMS New Delhi. And we intend to bring the cross down. And as I think he also underlined that every new technology is expensive, but when things proliferate, when you have a lot of things which are made indigenously, so then the cost come down. And I
Okay.
think I think it
Your
and
product
I think
is available
it will
at this
definitely come down. Yeah.
time. Could you tell us like what kind of cost are we looking at when the AIMS made CAR T cell therapy is available in India?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult question for me to answer at this point of time. But yeah, but we are. I think it depends on a lot of components. I think one of the major component are the lentiviral systems, which we use for the transductions of these T cells. So that is one thing which we are taking from outside as of now, and it's costing us a lot as of now. That is one thing which we are trying to develop here at AIMS. If we can develop it here at AIMS, I think that we should bring the cost significantly down as of now. Like maybe like between 20 to 25 lakhs, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this point, Sumi, I must mention and commend the government's initiative to actually provide for GST exemption in gene therapy because it directly actually reduces the burden on the patient. I think the other thing which will be relevant for us is because there are so many import materials. While some of the indigenization work is being done in some way, in some kind of relief can be provided on these import costs, then some of those benefits can be passed to the patients.
Yeah, probably,
Yeah,
budget is
yeah.
and the decision has already been taken, but let's hope for the best. And Mr. Mukim, if you could please quickly share, because your company is doing a lot of work in the areas of cell and gene therapies. So what are the new diseases, new products, new therapies that we can see in the coming times from Immuneel?
So I won't be able to share details about my pipeline, Sumi. All I can say is that this technology will evolve. There will be more and more effective cars in the same area that will be required. There will be requirement for allogenic cars as this technology improves. And some of the areas in gene therapies will also come, where us and some other companies will also have to look at how we could support the country, whether it's genetic disorders, blood disorders, where gene therapies could be effective. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I really appreciate both of you taking time out and join us for this conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Mayank and Mr. Mukim, taking
Thank you.
time out for
Thank you.
this.
Thank you so much.